At dusk, a battlefield becomes a strange kind of truth. The loud, mendo ones, who boast, shout, and rattle, their curries, like coins are, always the first to fall. Their noise reveals them. Their words betray the tremor in their hands. But in the corner of that dying light stands another kind of figured quiet one, the watcher, the man whose stillness cuts deeper than any blade he carries. You notice him only when the wind shifts, as if silence itself granted him a different kind of gravity. Most modern men have forgotten this way of being. They drown themselves in endless noise opinions, explanations, confessions, digital echoes of lives they barely control. They speak to feel alive, forgetting that every unnecessary word is a dulling of the edge. Ancient warriors knew better. They wielded silence the same way they wielded steel. Deliberately, sparingly, with precision. Silence was their shield and their map. In quiet, a man hears the footstep behind him. In quiet, he sees the twitch of doubt in an enemy's shoulder. In quiet, he discovers himself. There is a moment when a man chooses to step away from the world's clamor. The moment he stops trying to be heard and starts trying to understand. At first, the silence feels unfamiliar, almost threatening. It leaves you exposed, stripped of defense, stripped of excuses. But then the transformation begins. Silence becomes a mirror, and in that reflection you see the raw, unpolished truth of who you are when no one is watching. And something ancient wakes up. Because a man who speaks less does not shrink. He condenses. His presence gathers weight. People begin to feel him before he enters the room. He becomes the one who sees everything, reveals nothing, and carries an invisible tension that makes the world lean in without knowing why. A man of fewer words is never less dangerous. He is simply sharpening where others are spilling themselves empty. Silence, when practiced with intention, becomes a drawn bow. There is tension in it. A quiet power coiled beneath the surface, waiting not out of hesitation, but out of mastery. When you withhold your fire, you do not lose strength, you gather Italiano. You recover what the world tries to drain from you through constant responses, constant explanations, constant attempts to prove yourself in conversations that do not deserve your breath. Modern men exhaust themselves with their own tongues. They dilute every instinct by over-explaining their motives, their dreams, their fears. They treat speech as a pressure release valve, unaware that every release weakens the internal force they could have built. A man who must constantly defend himself is not dangerous. He is transparent, predictable, unarmored. Musashi understood a different law of power. He outweighed opponents with a stillness that rattled them. He let their noise reveal their insecurity, while they puffed their chests and spilled their intention into the air. He studied, listened, measured. His silence was not passive. It was a form of psychological warfare, a battlefield of withheld movements. Restraint is not weakness. Restraint is the command of your own flame. There is a moment, every man must confront the moment. He realizes that impulsive reaction is the true enemy of strength. The world tempts you to spill your fire at every provocation, every distraction, every irritation. But the warrior inside you knows. The arrow loosed too early misses the heart. The sword swung too soon hits only air. So sit with your power. Hold it. Let it simmer beneath the surface until the silence around you begins to thicken. This is the ancient discipline that the modern world has forgotten. The discipline of not wasting yourself. The discipline of becoming a man whose tension alone speaks louder than another man's speeches. When you stop leaking your energy into the world, something unsettling happens. You become heavier. You become unreadable. You become the man others sense but cannot predict. And that is the beginning of danger. Imagine a shadow that moves differently each night, never repeating its path, never offering a pattern. You try to understand it, but the moment you think you've grasped its intention, it dissolves into something unfamiliar. That is the essence of a man who has learned the dark art of silence. He becomes the presence you cannot fully decipher. Predictable men are easy to control. Their emotions are visible. Their reactions follow a script. Push them anger. Gassion them defensiveness. Ignore them desperation. They leak their patterns through constant speech, offering handles for others to pull. Every word is a clue, every explanation a doorway. A silent man gives no such access. He closes the openings others use to pull him like a puppet. He gives no emotional tells. He doesn't argue, he observes. He doesn't justify. He notes who needed the justification. His quiet creates a fog around his intentions, and in that fog he becomes someone others tread carefully around, not out of fear, but out of uncertainty. Musashi mastered this. He never fought the same way twice. He shifted his rhythm, his stance, his silence. Opponents died trying to read a man who refused to be readable. He understood that predictability is death, not just in battle, but in life. When you strip away unnecessary speech, you begin to move differently through the world. People cannot categorize you. They cannot label you. They cannot guess your motives. Silence becomes a mask, but not a false one. It's a mask carved from authenticity, from the simple refusal to reveal your depth to anyone who hasn't earned the right to hear it. The noisy man demands attention. The quiet man commands it. And as you become unreadable, something else emerges in you, a shape-shifting presence, a stillness that unsettles the shallow and intrigues the perceptive. You no longer walk into rooms to be seen. You walk into rooms to see, to feel, to measure. Silence, when chosen, becomes your shield. A shield of mystery, a shield of intention, a shield that protects the dangerous edge beneath your calm. Inside every man, there is a furnace, an ancient engine of aggression, fear, ambition, instinct. Most men either lash out with it blindly or bury it beneath layers of distraction. But a warrior, a real warrior, knows he must step into that fire, not escape. Italiano. Silence is the doorway to that confrontation. It is where the storm within meets the calm without. Picture a blade heated until it glows, then submerged into cold water. The clash of elements creates something stronger than either alone. That is what happens inside you when you begin to sit with your own darkness in silence. You stop running from the parts of you that frighten you. You stop pretending you have no violent impulses, no rage, no restlessness. Instead, you learn to hold them without being burned. Silence forces a man to meet himself without distraction, and this is why so many men avoid it. Because in quiet, you feel the tension you've buried, the desires you've ignored, the fears you've outpaced, the anger you've mislabeled as fatigue, the violence you've confused for weakness. But Musashi understood. The man who cannot face his own inner chaos can never master anything outward. Violence, when unlived, becomes destruction. Violence, when understood, becomes discipline. There's a moment in a man's life where he stops fighting the world and starts forging himself. In silence, you temper your impulses. You sharpen your instincts. You cool your reactions. You become still not empty, but controlled. You become the man who can walk through conflict without trembling. The man whose calm unsettles those who rely on noise to feel powerful. Dangerous men are not loud. They are settled, centered, carved from the collision of stillness and fire. Silence becomes the forge where your chaotic energy melts, reshapes, and reforms into something unbreakable. In this private crucible, you do not become less violent. You become violence, mastered. And that mastery is where real danger begins. There is a kind of man whose footsteps make no sound, yet every room he enters shifts almost the air tightens. The conversations bend, people turn, though they cannot explain why. This is the man who has fused silence with presence, who moves like a ghost but carries the weight of a mountain. Most men think power is something performed loud, visible, dramatic, but real power is atmospheric. It alters the environment without a word. It is the calm confidence of a man who does not need to announce himself, because everything about him speaks through stillness. His shoulders, his gaze, his pace, his restraint. Silent confidence does not ask for recognition. It creates gravity. Musashi traveled through villages and battlefields without theatrics. His presence was felt long before his sword was drawn. People sensed something about him, an inner alignment, a danger wrapped in calm. He didn't need to intimidate. He didn't need to posture. His silence did the speaking. In the modern world, chaos fills every corridor. Distraction pulls at you from every direction. But if you learn to move through life with the same quiet gravity, you become an anomaly. While others scatter their attention, you can serve yours. While others perform, you perceive. While others talk to feel significant, you listen and grow more dangerous by the second. The paradox is simple. The quieter a man becomes, the louder his presence echoes. You walk into life not as an actor on display, but as a force that shapes the unseen currents around you. No performance, no noise, just presence. Musashi knew that a warrior's true power was not in his strikes, but in the invisible field around him, the field created by discipline, intention, and silence. This is how you become a ghost with weight, a man who is nearly invisible, yet impossible to ignore, a presence that moves softly, but leaves echoes long after it departs. Practice presence, not performance, and the world will feel you without your needing to speak. Picture a single arrow held in perfect stillness, hours of waiting. No trembling, no waste, just an unbroken line between breath and intention. And then one release, quiet, decisive, final. That is the spirit of a silent man's action. Not rushed, not reactive, not driven by noise. Sharpened in stillness, delivered with inevitability. Silence is not emptiness. It is preparation. When you stop flooding the world with your impulses and explanations, something remarkable happens. You begin to see what others miss. You notice weakness in their posture, lies in their breathing, openings in their timing. You see intentions before they become actions. The loud man never sees these things because he is too busy reacting, too busy speaking, too busy trying to be noticed. The silent man doesn't rush. Decides. Musashi understood this deeply. His victories were not born in the clash of swords, but in the hours of quiet study before them. He observed. He waited. He let opponents unravel themselves. By the time he struck, the battle was already over. The final blow was simply the signature on a decision made long before steel touched steel. Silence makes your actions heavier. Heavier because they are rare. Heavier because they are deliberate. Heavier because people know you do not move unless the moment is final. The world fears the man who speaks of all he will do, but it respects the man who says nothing and simply becomes it. The dangerous man is not the one who announces his plans, his anger, his power. The dangerous man is the one who walks in silence, gathers his strength in the shadows, watches the battlefield from its quietest corners, and releases his strike only when the world least expects it and most deserves it. In the end, this is the dark art of becoming dangerous. Do not warn. Do not perform. Do not explain. Sharpen in silence and let your life be the strike.